My family wasn't rich, they were poor. I feel sorry for rich kids now. I really do. Because they're never going to have the opportunity I had. Because I knew tough things. And I had a tough day all my life. And I can handle tough things. They can't. And every day that I progressed was a joy to me. And I recognized it every day. I left here with $75 in my pocket. And I went with Ralph Hutchison, Jack Grout. I would win $25, $50. I was always last if I got my money at all. And as I say, I was a terrible player. And after New Orleans, I wasn't in the money and I was broke. I had to come home. You're talking about practicing. I just love to practice. Hit all kinds of shots around the green, playing holes in my mind, and it was a great satisfaction to me. Not for winning a tournament or anything like that. I got great satisfaction each and every day. We were driving to Oakland, California, and Valerie said, you know how much money we have? And I said, yes, I know. We had $86 left out of the $1,400. So she said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, Valerie, we made a deal to spend $1,400. We have 86 left, and we're going to Oakland. So we shopped all around for a hotel room, the least expensive we'd find, and wasn't eating very well, and buying no clothes at all. And anyway, the Leamington Hotel gave the pros a rate, and it's the best rate I could find in all of Oakland. So we stayed there. Okay, the morning of the tournament, I was driving a red Buick, maroon Buick, and across the street, there was a parking lot there. It's a gravel, of course, and I'm sure it's a big building there nowadays. But in those days, in the first round of the tournament, I had a fairly early starting time and left the hotel after breakfast. Went across the street, and my car was jacked up, and my two rear wheels are sitting on rocks, and they'd even taken the jack. So I came back to the hotel and bummed a ride with somebody. I can't remember who now. Anyway, I got to the course, and it was late, and I couldn't hit any practice balls because I'd be disqualified, you know, give you 5 minutes leeway. Well, I needed more than 5 minutes. So I played, and I won $385. It's the biggest check I've ever seen in my life. And I'm quite sure it'll be the biggest check I'll ever see.
That check was the turning point for the Hogans and strengthened their result.
I was hooking so badly that I couldn't get a forward off of the ground. And I had to use iron clips all the time. And after that tournament, I came home, and of course I said to myself, you can't play this way. There's no way to ever win or ever do very well. You're going to have to train yourself to be able to get the ball in flight and hit a high shot when you want to, or a low shot. But for heaven's sakes, you've got to get rid of this hook. Because a left to right dog leg, I couldn't play it at all. If there were any trees on the right side, I didn't have room to start my hook out there, and I just couldn't play it at all. So I said, there's something has to be done. So I came home, and I spent 2 weeks here, and I woke up one morning, and I had an idea how to do this. And this was just about daylight. I went to the golf course and spent all day until dark, and this thing worked like a charm for me.
He experimented with a slight...
Started working just as hard as I could work, even more than 8 hours a day. I used to pitch in our bedroom at night, and it took me 11 months to get back where I could play at all. And finally, I got to where I could play a little bit. Not as good as I could before, and I don't think I ever will play that good, or ever have since, even though I've won some tournaments. but I was better in 1948 and 49 than I've ever been.
By mid-summer,
I had to practice and play all the time. As I told you before, my swing wasn't the best in the world, and I know it. I knew it wasn't, and I thought, well, the only way I can win is to just outwork these fellas. So they might work 2 hours a day, and I'd work 8. So then, after I won a couple of tournaments, I noticed these fellows were practicing longer, and I don't know why that was, but they had to stay with me. And if it had been 12 hours during the day, I would have been out there 12 hours, because I enjoyed it.
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Cruikshank, Walter Hagan, and Tommy Armour called me on the telephone and said that you can't complete your career unless you go to Scotland and compete in the British Open. And I thanked them, and still had no inclination to go over there at all. Anyway, I won the Masters and I won the Open that year, and I sent my entry in to the British Open. The PGA was in conflict with the British Open, and I'd played in the PGA several times. So I thought, well, these fellows have asked me to do this. I think I'll oblige them. So I went over there. And luckily enough, I had a good turn and won the tournament. And I'm delighted that I did.
His first look at
The tournament, and he was going to play there. And he asked me, would I make him a pitching club and a sand club, which I did, and I took them out in my bag and gave them to him before the tournament started. And apparently that was a mistake. I find myself waking up at night thinking of that shot right today, and there isn't a month that goes by that doesn't cut my guts out. I didn't miss it, I just didn't hit it far enough. It hit just short of the green, bounced on the green, and I had a lie that I could hit with a driver for my third shot there. And I put so much spin on it, I just sucked it right back in the water.